Alright, what up people? Listen, back again. This time on a quick vibe with reacting to Journey of an African Colony, the making of Nigeria. This is part 4. This is the docu-series part 2, Protest and the Women's War. That's the title of it. The link to the original docu-series is in the description box below. Also, on top of that, do not worry about the washing machine in the background. Y'all know I record from home, right? So, let me. It is what it is. I can only do what I can do with the time that I do have, you know what I'm saying? But, at least you know I'm uploading consistently this time. But, listen, follow us on the Alkebulantrust on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff there. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, because you never know the video you suggest that could be next. Let's get straight into it. Let's go. And I'll try to not pause it as often as possible because, yo, it takes long to edit. I ain't gonna front.
The British approach to Nigerian conquest had set the mood of deep resentment, but the nation was at last amalgamated into one united country. The cost was both human and material. The British rejected newly discovered oil in the early 1900s and chose instead tax.
Martin.
This was the South. Was the decision not to build industry and grow the economy for itself and not for the treasury a sound one? Some people didn't think so. The women of the eastern province of Nigeria, the British did not expect what they got. War.
I'll say what I said in a minute. Protest, the Women's War.
John Simon Burkhead, the British.
Alright, I can pause it now for a tiny bit. Alright, what I wanted to say was, how can they not expect war when they're trying to take over a situation, a country, a people, all that stuff there? How can you not expect war? It don't make sense. It's just ignorant to not think that there isn't going to be a fight back. Like, it's plain ignorance. But sometimes, you know what, that works to, you know, in this case, to their, not to the British advantage, but do you know what I mean? It works to, yeah, it works to our people's advantage. Because they never see it coming, just like the Haitian Revolution. They never saw it coming. And the real revolution that's happening now, oh, they're not seeing it happen. As much as I'm mentioning it, oh, they're not seeing what's really happening. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be of a certain level or spiritual connection to the real source to be able to know what's really going on, to be able to see it and feel it. Do you see what I mean? To be able to help as well. Yeah, dude. Anyway, let's not get into that right now. Yeah, because it's too deep what I'm talking about. You may think, anyway.
Engineer and his Canadian partner, William Henry McGarvey, had successfully explored for oil in several parts of the world. But it was John Burkhead alone that found his way to Nigeria in 1906. Yes. 1906, not that.
Alright, we're gonna pull it up for just a few seconds, right? No, fuck it. Forget it. What I wanna say is, I know I said I'm going to stop pausing it, but they're mentioning oil, and there's this book. I think it's called the first 100 million or something like that by Dan Penio, and I will listen to the audio version actually. To be quite honest with you, this was like a year ago or over a year ago now, and he mentioned to do with him having ties with the CIA to be able to go over there or go over to Haiti and basically displace the president over there and replace him with someone else that will help him get business over there for the oil. And this was in the 80s. This was in the 80s. Or the 80s or the early 90s. One of the two. Yeah? And he's even mentioned this in interviews. Yeah? Like, I'm telling you, yeah. These people have no shame to their game. No shame.
56. He came to the conclusion that there was petroleum oil in southern Nigeria. He sold the idea to his friend within the civil service, President Antrobus. Yes, Antrobus of the Niger Committee. Antrobus said, if oil exists, this is an important matter for Nigeria. Many of the British officials were naturally skeptical to start with. Why would government spend so much money at all? An agreement was finally struck. The oil ordinance of 1907.
Drilling started in late 1907. The Nigerian Regional Corporation was looking for a sweet spot.
Alright, listen, again, I'm going to apologize for the washing machine. Right now, it is loud as, you know what I'm saying? So, I didn't account for this, to be honest with you, because sometimes it goes a bit quiet, you know what I mean, for like a long while, and you think, is the washing machine even on? But then now we have its moment where it's like, oh, I'm going to tell you I'm on right now. So, you know, I don't even know what to do. I don't want to pause this thing because keep on pausing it. It's only like 23 more minutes left of this video, or this episode, should I say. Either way, look, you're here to watch me react to it. So if you did want to hear it properly and watch it properly, like the actual docu-series, the link is in the description box below. Yeah? Deal? Alright, let's go.
Steam our cable to its name, drilled deep, reaching 200 feet below, several wells on the side. The Colonial Office was growing restless, boundaries were growing enough. In the last ditch effort, Belgium estate.
Okay, no.
Too long. It was unthinkable.
Uh-oh. What did I do? Uh-oh. There you go.
For oil in several parts of the world. But it was John Bergheim alone that found his way to Nigeria. In 1906. Yes. 1906, not 1956. He came to the conclusion that there was petroleum oil in southern Nigeria. He sold the idea to his friend within the civil service, President Antrobus. Yes, Antrobus of the Niger Committee. Alkebulan said, if oil exists, this is an important matter for Nigeria. Many of the British officials were naturally skeptical to start with. Why would government spend so much money at all?
It's a smoothie.
An agreement was finally struck.
No, I know I said I'm going to stop pausing for quite some time. But it's a thing of that smoothie. I know you had that burp in it. But it's like, it's the smoothie. Get me? The smoothie just... You want to know what smoothie it was? It was kale in the smoothie. It was... What else was in the smoothie? So yeah, kale, banana, an apple, and a few like herbs in there, innit? Like ashwagandha, and I think I dashed in Moringa as well. Yeah, I dashed in those two. I wanted to dash in Irish Moss, but I ain't got that much left in it. You know what I mean? So I got to re up. So I gotta go to Pempency, and I got the next time I go there, she has it. In fact, I want to give him a call before I go. Get me? Yeah. And I gotta find out if they have the other things that that she says she's gonna note down to find out. But anyway, get me? Pempency. Get me? They're in Brixton, Lewisham, Walthamstow. I think they're somewhere else as well, and then they got another shop called Eden or something like that. I need to visit those stores as well. But yeah. Anyway, that's a little shameless plug. Get me? That she never paid for those plugs. I just, when you like shopping somewhere and naturally, you know what I mean? It's just flowing off conversation. It just came up. You know what I mean? And it's black owned, innit? So you know me and black owned stuff. Anyway, let's go.
The Oil Ordinance of 1907 was agreed to.
Drilling started in late 1907. The Nigerian Bitumen Corporation was looking for the sweet spot with its steam-powered cable tool rigs. Its men drilled deep, reaching 200 feet below ground at the several wells that they sank. There was no oil. The Colonial Office was growing restless, and Downing Street gave the order enough. In a last-ditch effort, Bergheim requested £25,000. It was far too radical, too long. It was unthinkable to put government in such a speculative undertaking as looking for oil in an African country. Then suddenly, in November 1908, his men had struck oil. The oil wells in the largely uninhabited loamy lands of the old Ore Rivers Protectorate were producing not palm oil, but crude oil. The company was producing 2,000 barrels of oil a day. Bergheim needed more money to expand the work program. But the hawks at Downing Street were still suspicious of Bergheim. He must be trying to get money from the government to underwrite his risks, they thought. Even Androbus couldn't convince the hierarchy about the long-term prospects for Nigeria. Lugard didn't want anything to do with Nigeria becoming remotely industrial. There was to be no industrial revolution in Nigeria.
Hold up. So you take over somewhere and you don't want it to prosper. Because if it prospers, you prosper. That's just common sense. Or if it's not common sense, that's just logic. Do you see what I mean? It's like the music industry, right? Because obviously I'm going to use music as a reference because I like music, blah, 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 and if you understand it. And I'm using another analogy as well. It's like if a artist is successful, right? And they're signed to a label, and depending on the deal structured, most of the time it's the label that prospers because they have a. Why do you think most artists and whatever level of title they have, whether it's a songwriter or whatever, why do you feel like they've been cheated out of a deal? It's because the deal they signed doesn't really benefit them as much. It benefits the label, or it benefits the publisher. Like, do you see what I mean? It benefits everyone else but them. Do you see the point I'm trying to make? And they invest in them. Those labels invest in them. Let's use a football analogy. It's the same thing. It's like some of these football clubs, they have like youth academies and stuff like that, or they sign these young players, send them out on loan, build up their skills, their experience, and they sell them with a clause in their contract they have like a first buyback, first refusal or something like that in there. There's a clause in the contract. Do you see what I mean? To say whether they can re-sign them. Do you see what I'm trying to say? And then also, another thing about football is like, if they send them out on loan and to a team that's in the same league, most of the times there's a clause in the contract where they cannot play against that player cannot play against them. Do you see what I mean? So they benefit. Like, do you get the point I'm trying to make? So it's like, why wouldn't? Anyway.
In September of 1912, Berkheim was dead.
Oh wow. I wonder why. They put the government on him. Never mind. No conspiracy.
Yeah, but what was to become typical car accident in London. And with him died the hope of a much needed income to industrialize Nigeria. Because of Lugard's policy direction, British interests changed to the Middle East, Persia in fact, now modern day Iran. And there they established the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, the precursor of today's British Petroleum.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I know Shell in Nigeria though. Flipping it. Colonial administrator, you
In
know.
London, England, on the trail of Frederick Lugard, trying to get a closer sense of the man and how he lived, and just who he was. It's brought us to this rather high-down, plush suburb of London, Knightsbridge. And we know he lived here between 1912 and 1919 with Mrs. Lugard for a show. Just being here makes you wonder what kind of duties will make you leave the relative comfort of a place like this for the more modest accommodations in Zungeru and Lokoja and Jeba.
This nigger area name controversy, being the origin of the
My
word
name is called a
Nigeria,
nigga
is yet
area.
another
I don't mean to laugh, but you get what I mean from the
influence
things
handed
episode.
down to us by Frederick Lugard and his wife. Yet Lugard's name still adorns many streets in Nigeria. The governor's office, where the democratic executive authorities exercised in the Holy State of Nigeria, is named Lugard House. And the seat of democracy, the legislative offices in Kaduna State, is grandly called Lugard Hall. Monuments and associated infamy have raised controversy across the world in notable sites of global imperial economy. In England.
Alright, so here's what I'm going to say, yeah? Let me ask you this question in the comment section below and let me know your honest thoughts. If a country is genuinely free from independence and they know their history of how it started, wouldn't you want to do everything within your power to remove any names and anything associated with what was evil? Like, I get sometimes, yes, you have to, maybe sometimes you have to understand your past and know your past, but that's why I think, yes, they should teach it and stuff like that. I think if it was taught in schools from an early age, I guarantee you these things would not be in existence. You know what I mean? They wouldn't be in existence like that. They'll only be within existence within like text and film and all that stuff there, so they can refer back to it. Other than that, why would you would you want, that's what I'm gonna ask you. Answer in the comment section below. Would you want if someone oppressed you, did it evil to you, they did evil to you and they oppressed you for many years, they profited off of you, making you feel oppressed. Let me ask this question. After they have done with you, after you fought for your independence, after you fought for your freedom, would you want anything to do with that person or those group of people that hurt you in that way? Think about it. It's a simple yes or no answer. Me personally, no.
Oxford University, the old Confederate states in the United States, in the maritime cities of Liverpool and Bristol, for instance. It's a difficult subject, to be sure. But societies have reacted in different ways, tearing down statues, backing different views. Some countries have done nothing. Tragically, Nigeria has kept regard. Both the name Nigeria and his atrocities will forever remind us of Frederick Lugard, the first Baron of Aberdeen. It just doesn't seem to be the option.
We went to Lokoja at the very heart of Nigeria, a town used as an old military outpost by the Royal Niger Company. We went to the top of Mount Patti, and that's P-A-T-T-I, as it's spelt on the mount. The British records have it as P-A-T-T-E-Y, and that could either be Haiti or Patti. Anyway, we spelled Patti, where there is a monument to the memory of Flora.
I want a patty now,
and Frederick
the Jamaican
Mugabe.
patty.
There is a myth that this building was occupied by both of them. But Flora Shaw's diary, which records her time spent in Nigeria, indicates that this could not have been the home they lived in. Still, the authorities have chosen to call the Guard Rest House, insisting that the couple lived there. A statue memorializing the life and times of, almost celebrating the life and times of Frederick Mugabe and Flora Shaw, Lady Mugabe.
Why
Next to
though?
the Nigerian flag. There's a narrative that needs to be corrected here. Frederick Mugabe, throughout his tenure as High Commissioner of the Northern Protectorate, Governor and Governor General, presided over probably the most diabolical of colonial administrations anywhere in Africa. In his time, he was responsible for the underdevelopment of the territory, ensuring that no industrialization happened here at all, ensuring that no education progressed the Northern Territory. And he installed a policy, a deliberate policy, of racial segregation, ensuring that Africans and Europeans lived apart. In fact, we mustn't forget the tens of thousands of lives that were lost during his murderous campaign in a bid to acquire the Northern Territory. This was no hero.
Exactly, he's no hero. And what I don't understand is, after all that war, after everything, you know what I'm gonna say, right?
What was the reason?
I had a reason.
What was the
I had a
reason?
reason.
What was the reason?
I just explained the reason.
What was the reason, bitch?
I don't need to explain myself to you. And
What
he
was the reason?
What was the reason? Like, if you don't want to give them education, cool. You don't want, not even cool, but like, some things just don't make sense to me. In this life, there's some things that don't make sense to me. That don't make sense. I could more or less understand and accept if there was a bigger reason where, not if, I don't want to say the reason because it almost justifies it, but there is no justification for these type of things. But at least you know that, okay, if you're taking over somewhere, it's like I'm gonna use a company for an example, like business, yeah. You see, when a bigger company takes over a smaller company, it's because they see the value in that company, right? And they're like, we like what you're doing. We've got the infrastructure to be able to help that company grow. So we're gonna take over that company, help it grow. Now we can make it part of us as one, or we can keep it as a subsidiary where people may know it's part of us or they may not know. Do you see what I mean? Similar, I want to give an example, but I don't want to give away free promo to certain brands and organizations, especially if they're not black owned. If they're black owned, I don't mind. But yeah. Anyway, let's keep it moving. In fact, no. I'm going to use Cash Money as an example. Let's use Cash Money as an example, but it's not really the same analogy of what I'm trying to make, the point I'm trying to make. But I suppose I can try and work something out. It's like, you got Cash Money, right? Now, what comes under Cash Money is Young Money. And what comes under Young Money is OVO. Do you see what I mean? Now, you would think they're all separate, but they're all under one umbrella. Even Cash Money is under a certain umbrella of a name of an organization that I'm not going to mention because that's giving them free promo. But you get the point I'm trying to make. And it's a thing of Listen, I don't know the politics behind Young Money, who owns it now, or because Lil Wayne was supposed to own it, right? But turned out that Birdman actually owned it. You know what I mean? And then I think he then had to give it to Lil Wayne, and I don't know. I don't know the politics behind it. I'm not here to gossip about something. I'm trying to make a point. The point I'm trying to make is, if you're taking over somewhere, I'm chatting way too long, but I'm trying to make a point, yeah? While that wants to make noise. It's like, if you're taking over something, there has to be a purpose. Do you see what I mean? Anyway. But again, see, I don't use that Cash Money example because it doesn't make sense. Because Young Money wasn't supposed to take over Cash Money. Nor was OVO supposed to take over Young Money or Cash Money. But they're separate entities, but they're entities that still work with the same organization. Anyway. I'm trying to explain it, and I think I made things a lot more worse. Anyway.
In any event, the news of his retirement as Governor General was received with much joy, at least by the pressmen.
That's it, domination, terrorism. That's what it was.
The marketplace was something that was hugely underrated by the British government. Probably the reason why they chose to choose in officialdom to refer to it as the market women's right. It was to lose the essence of this place and the sophistication that some of the people in this place exhibit. It was to miss the point that it wasn't a market women's riot. It wasn't a rampage of some mindless women. It was a sophisticated protest against discriminatory laws and a very unfair tax system that was being introduced by the British government. It all started in this small agrarian village called Uluko in the eastern province of Nigeria. A series of protests that would prove critical in shaping Nigeria was triggered by an iconic woman named Nwayewura Olika Upo, who inspired other women of the province to do the unthinkable, challenge the authority of the British government by opposing their move to impose new tax on the women. To get a better sense of what happened in Nigeria's big moment in 1929, we went to look for one of Nigeria's foremost historiographers, Emeka Enquiries, my friend, for his perspective on the significance.
I know this has got nothing to do with it, right? Wherever you go in the world, obviously I know they're in Nigeria right now, but wherever you go, there's always an Emeka. Always. That is the most popular Igbo name. Well, I don't want to say ever, because I'm going to sound like I'm exaggerating. But, you know what I'm saying? If you're Igbo, you understand. If you're Nigerian, I don't even know use the word if you're Nigerian. I don't want to identify as that. Especially now understanding the whole history behind the name itself. But yeah, Emeka. Get me.
When the rumor started about the taxation of women, we looked at the example of they have been worried about the taxation into for women. And these worries were eventually real when the tax the officer of the music authority.
I'm going to say as loud as I could possibly get it, and that is still overpowering it. I must have pulled this up a little. And then wait for this to, oh man.
To get a better sense of what happened in Nigeria's big moment in 1929, we went to look for one of Nigeria's foremost historians, Emeka Enquiries, for his perspective on the significance of the uprising in the shaping of Nigeria.
When the rumor started about the taxation of women, particularly in a town called Oloko, there have been worries about the introduction of taxation for the women folk. And these worries were eventually made real when an officer of the native authority reporting to the warrant chief got to the home of a lady called Wanyarowa Oleka Popo, which is her real name. And she was busy processing her farm produce and going through it. And then this guy comes in, Mero. He walks in all pompous and possessed in his new role as an official of the new government and demanded to count. She was like, I want to count your livestock and your pots and pans. She was like, have you counted your mother's your livestock and pots and pans?
Yo! Hey, listen. If you know anything about black women in general, yeah, they will come back at you with that slick talk, especially African mothers, bro, or African aunties. They will come back to you with that slick talk. Oh man, if you know, you know. You know what I mean? Like, and I say black women in general because I know there's some Caribbean women that have the same, slick back talk as well. Like, yeah, man.
As you can probably imagine, Emero was not very happy. And he proceeded to exercise his sovereign authority given by the king and grabbed her by the throat. Obviously, the woman who is processing palm oil and who has just told you to go and count your mother's patients, she's not willing to be grabbed by the throat and will not simply appress her. So she grabbed him by his shirt. And as you can imagine, she had not had time to wash her hands. And it was a white shirt after, so it's a tussle emerged. And obviously, the man really did not subdue her. She was quite a formidable woman. 1 year old, goes out to the women folk to say, look, this is what has happened. The women had already organized themselves into a pressure group. How front were now flying. Well, the women now protested to the district officer, who now sat in consideration of their complaints against Okugo. And in fact, Okugo was sanctioned. And the district officer now confirmed the once more to the women that the women will not be taxed. Unfortunately, the problem with this, with SMSs, you can send an SMS to say, okay, sorry, the fight is over. But the palm front is already flying. They are gone far, well beyond the But then, in radio, it was me like
Damn, man. That's why it's important to know people. Get me? Because when you're in need, they should be able to help you naturally.
6 years, I'm great job out there. I'm going to go there and try and get a sense of what happened in December of 1929 and explain the Women's War. It was all about tax. People ask me, why tax and why them? Well, the First World War had ended in 1918. The British economy had suffered from the cost of the war. Production had fallen by at least 30%. There was pressure on the colonies to not just to take the extraction into the treasury, but for them to emit more to rebuild the economy. Nigeria was no exception. So the decision was taken not only to increase the tax, but to widen the covenant rates. Fell on the women. And there have been protests across the Midwest in 1925 and 1927. And so when the stock market crashed in New York in 1929, it was an irreversible decision. The women just had to pay the tax. More tax. More tax.
So here's the thing, yeah. my thing, I'm just trying to deep in my mind this understanding of why. Like, that's you. To me, I'm like, that's your problem. You decided to go to war. You decided. So why are you involving me, bruv? That's what I'm looking at it. Like, why are you involving me when it's you? That's your problem. You got to deal with it. Leave me out of it. Get me? So I can understand why those women, they fall back, because it's like, this ain't my problem. Like, get me? And it's true, it's not their problem. It's like, how can you? But obviously, you know how it is with colonizers and oppressors, or whatever you want to call them. Like, they think they're the boss of everyone, but really, anyway, you know what they say. The people that try to overstep and overpower their certain titles and all that stuff there, you know what they say about that. Get me? Insecurity things. But anyway, let's go.
And we're here in the middle of Aba. Way back in 1929, this could have been the headquarters of both government presence and European commercial activity. Behind me is the prison yard, the pound as it was called then, and to my left is the court. The court probably where the Aba Commission first sat before it roamed all over the region, going into Lagos and then coming back to Aba. And straight ahead there, you've got Asa Road. To the left, going back to Owerri, where Dr. Hunter's accident happened at Owerinta, and to the right that way, back to Port Harcourt. And in the middle of all this infrastructure, the protesting women just attacked the government infrastructure and the commercial activities of the Europeans. They had every opportunity to attack and kill, maim, and murder white people, but they chose not to. It was a protest based on a civil disturbance, and most of it ended up in the court. Let's go inside the court.
You see, that's how we're going to get true power and freedom back, by attacking their infrastructure and by going deeper into our current infrastructure and restructuring. That is the only way forward. I don't see no other way forward. Do you know what I mean? Anyway.
The news of the new women's protest at Aba had reached Calabar province. Captain James, their back district officer, conferred with his Ikotepene counterpart. He immediately requested for a platoon of troops and deployed them. A line would be drawn in the sand 30 yards in front of police lines, with a warning that it must not be crossed. As the women crossed the line on the 14th of December 1929, 3 women were killed by government forces at Utu Etimeko Lewis rapid fire guns with its 97-round quick-fire magazines deployed against the women. I have a book by 3 eminent United States professors of history called The Women's War of 1929. In the book they say, citing the evidence of Colonial Officer Jackson, where he says, I do not think that they believed that taxation of the women was imminent for one moment, referring to the women. The leaders at least did not. The less intelligent did not give it 2 thoughts. They got excited and would hardly be responsible for their actions. They reverted to a primitive state. They became completely savage. And the officialdom picked that appellation and labeled it the Aba Women's War. Nothing can be further from the truth. Because we now know that on the 13th of December 1929, Dr. William Hunter was driving from Owerri towards Aba, and he was confronted by 300 protesting women. And the women refused to disperse to let the car through. What Hunter and his passenger did, they drove through the crowd, knocking down 2 women and killing 1. Naturally, the protesters were incensed. They were so incensed they went after every single government infrastructure they could find. Telegram poles, light poles, government buildings, the courts, the prisons, the Barclays Bank, the Niger Company office. By the time the rampage and the protest was over, the British were so scared and after revenge, after fear, that 3 days later, on the 16th of December, when the protest moved to Opobo, Consular Beach, the policemen were trigger happy, scared and out for revenge.
Oh, they weren't scared. They were just out for revenge. Let's just say that clearly. Do you see how they change narratives in these mainstream education books? And you can't even call it women's war either, generally speaking. It was a massacre. Like, yeah, protests, but technically they were massacred. You know what I mean? Some of them were murdered. So, like, I don't even know what to say, because it's like, obviously this is the past, but you're seeing the same type of behavior. Do you see what I mean? In different countries as well, and even in Nigeria as well. Like in 2020, you all know what happened on October the 20th in 2020. If you didn't see that video, and they weren't Caucasian or white or anything like that. They were, listen, I don't even want to talk about too tough, but what I do want to say is this: that would have never happened had we genuinely put ourselves in a position where we truly got true power and freedom, where we got rid of the name Nigeria and all that stuff there, you know what I mean? And lived the lifestyle that we're supposed to be living. Live how we're supposed to be living, yeah? Because not every human is supposed to be living in the same way. That's like, there's different type of cats, right? Not every cat is supposed to live in the same way as those different cats. Like for example, a lion is considered a cat species, right? From the cat species. Which also you have the actual cat. That's different from a lion. They look different, but they're from the same species, as they say. So it's like, but they live 2 different lifestyles. Do you see what I'm trying to say? And yeah, both of them can be domesticated, but at the same time, not really. Because eventually, anyway, let's not even get into the politics of it. Let's get back into this video. Let's get back into it. Let's go.
The level of preparation also proved deadly at Opobo, because the district officer, Mr. Whitman, received a telegram from his boss, the resident, Mr. Falk, instructing the district officers on the danger and actions to take. By 15th December, the confrontation had started. The women marched to the chief and demanded that he sign a letter promising that the women would not be taxed. Their demands were clear. The government will not tax women. No personal property such as boxes are to be counted. Women are not to be charged rent for the use of the common market shed. They did not want Chief Mark Pepple to be the head chief of Opobo town. This proved too much for District Officer Whitman. He would later claim that he heard the defense give way under the pressure from the crowd. He was certain the rush of protesters would attack him and others on the government side. At that point, Lieutenant Hill asked, "Should I fire?" Whitman nodded and shouted back, "Yes."
Names.
Early in the year of 1930, Graham Thompson, the governor of Nigeria, only managed to appoint a dismal two-man commission. The public teamed up to the cause. Their mothers, their wives, and their sisters.
Like, I'm still confused, yeah. How, like, you know when you look at these things and you're like, if they fear us that much, they're scared of us that much, why would they even think to even put themselves in a position where they're gonna be harmed? It don't make sense to me. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, this is the past, but it still happens in the present day, unfortunately. So what's the solution to this problem? My humble opinion is this. What needs to be done is children from an early age need to understand and know what happened in the past so they can know exactly how to deal with what's going on in the present day situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to give them responsibility to change everything because that's too much of a burden. But it's the thing of when you have knowledge of something, especially as deep as this, you want to find a way to sort these things out, innit? But anyway, let's keep it moving.
The governor was forced to establish a second commission of inquiry. That commission heard 485 witnesses from March the 10th to July the 21st, 1930. This was a much more robust effort to get to the fact. But the commission let itself down with its own language. It found the shootings unfortunate but necessary to quell the riots. By 1930, Nwairua, one of the movement's inspirations, was arrested and put on trial, along with her nemesis, the school teacher turned census man, Emerua. The trial of 2 months ended in a guilty verdict for their role in the disturbances. They were both sentenced to 3 months imprisonment. It was not until August 1930 that the British press grudgingly acknowledged the atrocity. The Times of London read, "The trouble was of a nature and extent unprecedented in Nigeria, in a country where the woman throughout the century has remained in subjection to the men." This was essentially a women's movement, organized, developed, and carried out by the women of the country, without either the help or permission of their menfolk, though probably with their tacit sympathy. The casualties resulting from the conflicts with the armed forces of the Crown were almost entirely women. 54 were killed or died of wounds, and 57 were wounded. One man was accidentally killed and another wounded.
In the end, no officer was ever punished for the tragedy.
Oh, they were. Let me tell you something. No action is gone unseen or heard. Yeah, I'm gonna say that again so you can look at me when I'm saying this. No action that you do is gone unseen or unheard. Yeah? Like, I don't know whether you believe in God or not, but there is a higher power. So, like, there must be, right? That higher power sees everything and makes sure that it's like work, for example. Yeah? Before you get paid, now they may pay up front, but you still got either way in general, the general thing is you have to put in the work. Some people get paid weekly, fair enough. So that week you work, the following week you get paid for last week's work. If you get paid at the end of the month, then at the end of the month you get paid. You work throughout the month and you get paid. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing in life, in general. You will pay for everything that you're doing, good, bad, or evil. I'm telling you, those demons, oh, they are paid. And the other demons in present day, oh, they're gonna be paying. And let's say, listen, for any agents trying to watch this, I'm not involved. I'm just keeping 100.
Next, the whole of British Nigeria had heard of the women's war.
Alright, let's get back into the last 2 minutes. Get me? As my washing machine winds down. Get me? I only took about flipping 2 hours. No, I'm playing. Let's go. In 1938, Governor Graham Thompson was removed, summoned to Downing Street, where the Secretary of State, Lord Passifield, don't want to call him Lord, but Passifield declared his actions as injustice and whatever he said. But
Next, the whole of British Nigeria had heard of the women's war and its consequences. The British subjects had barely caught their breath before they were thrown into the Second World War 9 years later. The colony at war was a triple tragedy for empire subjects. Resources were stripped to underwrite the costs of the war and to feed the faraway home territory.
mad, insane.
Death and sheer needless loss of life in an alien battle, and finally a forgotten, buried history of their involvement.
Good give us little recognition and space. Why? Anyway, so obviously that's the end of that. Get me? Part 5. Be on the lookout for that. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button again, hit the like button, hit the bell notification, that's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, man. Because obviously that's the end of that. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you got made to if you made it this far towards the end of this video, hit the hashtag in the comment section below. Alkebulan is great again. We're going to speak it into existence. We are going to write it into existence. And Alkebulan is basically Africa. It's the motherland. That's what it means. Yeah, Alkebulan actually means motherland. In fact, there's a separate video on that. If you want to watch that, go watch that. But yeah.